Guys, it's over. That's the gap Verstappen put on everybody else. Just give him the trophy right now. Red Bull wins, everyone else is screwed. That's your Bahrain Grand Prix review, and I'm gonna see you next year. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, I'm just kidding, but for the sake of this video, let's just forget that Red Bull exists for now. Let's talk about the other teams. And the most common question was, what's wrong with Mercedes? Is W15 still bad? Is George Russell better than Lewis Hamilton? Does Lewis Hamilton not care now that he's going to Ferrari? Well, I don't know the answer to all that questions, but what I can tell you is that Mercedes had a great qualifying. I mean, Russell especially, just being 3/10 of Verstappen is a great place to start with, and Lewis Hamilton did not have a good quali. He was just 2/10 of actually from Russell, but the problem was that the field was so tight that 1/10 here or there could make a big difference. Even Lewis admitted that his quali was quite bad. He needs to work on that, because if he had qualified P5, P6, he definitely would have been in a better spot. He said he set up his car more for race pace, which Lewis Hamilton haters do not believe. They think he's just giving an excuse, and we couldn't really find that out because they had a lot of problems during the race. The major issue was overheating. Both Russell and Hamilton faced it. So basically for every F1 car, depending on the circuit, they have different options of bodywork for cooling. According to George Russell, they went with a more aggressive cooling setup because the temperatures were expected to be quite low in comparison to previous Bahrain Grand Prix. And apparently, according to some reports, it was even a more aggressive setup than what they ran in FP2, where they topped the charts. So they did all the calculations, but probably they were bad at math because this thing backfired and the car did not have enough cooling during the race, and because of this, they had to use mitigation strategies like lift and coast. So what basically lift and coast is that when you are going towards a corner, you lift off the accelerator a bit early, then you coast for some time, then press on the brakes so that you don't heat up the car that much and your car slowly cools down. So they had to do this, and they were losing around 4 to 5 tenths per lap because of this lift and coast. You can see this graph where Sainz, you can see, can hold on to the accelerator a bit longer than George Russell because he had to do lift and coast to cool the car down. They were also facing issues with the electric part, the battery of the power unit, where it was discharging quite quickly but not charging that quickly. That was resolved within the race. And another problem that Lewis Hamilton had was that his seat was kind of broken. This is what he said post interview. So basically this was not a very ideal race for Mercedes. I still do feel Mercedes is very close to Ferrari in terms of pace, and we'll see that in the future races. And talking about Ferrari, Leclerc has the shittiest luck of all of them because once again in the opening race he faced problems with his Ferrari. Right from the start of the race, there was some problem with the front axle, because of which there was an imbalance in the brakes. So the front left brake and the front right brake were about 100 degrees apart in terms of temperatures, and because of that he was consistently locking up. It felt like he didn't know how to drive the F1 car, and that costed him around 4 to 5 tenths per lap, and this problem only slightly got resolved after 10 to 15 laps. By the time he had lost a lot of momentum. So yeah, he's probably got luck like Jethalal, because something wrong happens to him all the time. And I hope that they fix that in the future races, because otherwise he qualified so well and that car definitely had pace, as we saw with Carlos Sainz. I saw some of the hot takes that Sainz is a better driver than Leclerc. I mean, why is Ferrari not keeping him? Why is Ferrari keeping Leclerc? And so on. Man, he had big problems with his car. You just cannot judge it based on one race. But credit where it's due, Carlos Sainz had an amazing drive. He's not set a foot wrong in the whole race weekend. He qualified well. During the race, he had amazing pace. He capitalized on it. No mistakes. And that fight with Charles, he was right there, aggressive, ready to fight it out. That bro, I deserve a top team seat. This year is just going to be about Carlos proving it to everyone that I've still got it and I deserve a seat in the top team. This is going to be an interesting battle throughout the year, and I hope Ferrari lets them fight it out because it's fun to watch the racing on track. But as of now, if I have to put a pecking order, it's of course Red Bull, then Ferrari. They've done a very good job. I mean, they've really worked on their tire degradation issues. After that, we've got Mercedes, who's very close to Ferrari. Then we've got McLaren. They silently had a very good race weekend, qualified decently well. Their race pace was good, and if you compare them to Bahrain 2022 and 2023, they've definitely come a long way. And I feel this pack is actually very close: Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren. It's gonna depend on who can bring the development faster and whose upgrades are gonna be best. And I feel they're gonna keep swapping places, and this is an interesting fight to look out for in the season. Talking about swaps, there was another controversial swap at AlphaTauri. I mean, Visa Cash App RB, Racing Bulls, Chota Red Bull, what do you want to call them, between Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda. So basically Daniel was on softer tires, he was behind Yuki, he was quite fast. So they asked Yuki to let him go by and Yuki didn't for one lap. Later on he let him by, but it didn't lead to anything. Daniel finished ahead of Yuki. Yuki was pissed off. He dive bombed Daniel after the race in the closing lap, and that pissed off everybody at the team. But I think it was RB who's at fault here, because they could have communicated this a bit early. They could have done it in a better way. And post-race, both of the drivers said that this was already discussed in their race strategy. Even Yuki knew that Daniel might go on softs. So I do not understand his behavior after the race. This is definitely not acceptable. And I don't think that's giving him any extra brownie points for a Red Bull seat. They do have a small update coming in Saudi. So let's see how this team performs, because there was a lot of hype around them, but they are not performing that well right now. And there's a lot of hype about Aston as well, and I feel Aston is comfortably behind McLaren. Fernando Alonso did a great job putting his car in P6 in qualifying, but in terms of raw pace, I don't think they're still there with Ferrari, Mercedes and McLaren like they were last year. Then if we talk about the bottom 5 teams, I mean the pack is really close here, and it's very hard to say which team is doing a better job, because even Haas, tire degradation was their major problem last year and they've worked on them, and Magnussen really had a good race. Hulkenberg, because of that spin, couldn't capitalize on it, but still Haas is looking promising. Williams was average. Kick Sauber did a very good job. Zhou silently had a very nice race, very underrated performance. Bottas once again at the longest pit stop, 52 seconds or something like that, completely threw him off the pace. So these 4 teams, RB, Haas, Sauber and Williams, can move here or there depending on the circuit, but Alpine is comfortably last. I don't know what they've done during the whole summer break. Half of the people are leaving the team. Nobody is interested. Their engine is lacking, their aero is not that great, and I'm not sure what's happening to them this year, because they are just evolving backwards. So yeah, that was basically your Bahrain Grand Prix. Red Bull is still untouchable. I mean, Max had a phenomenal performance. The tire degradation is superb. It's very much in control. I mean, Max was putting out consistent times lap by lap without affecting his pace. So they are definitely the car to beat. And I think it's very hard for the teams to catch up to Red Bull this year and maybe even next year. I mean, I would like to be optimistic and I hope someone catches them, but it seems very tough right now with the cost cap. Do you think cost cap is helping or not? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. And now that we're talking about Red Bull, there is definitely a lot of drama brewing up behind the scenes with Christian Horner, Jos Verstappen. Jos Verstappen has said a couple of things which I don't understand. He's not even a Red Bull employee. All the Red Bull employees, including Max himself, has kept their mouth shut. They're not saying anything bad about Horner or anything, but this guy has gone out and publicly said things which I think is gonna sour things up a bit. There are a lot of rumors going on, a lot of leaks going on. I mean, I don't want to talk about them. You can Google them. But it seems like sooner or later there might be a bit of imbalance in the team, and I hope that they sort it out, because they've got a very good car off track. They need stability off track too. You can follow my Instagram for all of these updates. I keep putting out stories and things like that there for quick updates. Let me know your thoughts about the Bahrain Grand Prix. I know that this season right now does not seem that exciting, but just forget Red Bull and I think we're going to have a very tight fight behind them. Let me know your feedback on this race review. What things did you like? What things did you not like? And yeah, share this video with your friends. I'm going to catch up with you after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. You can follow me on Instagram in the meanwhile. Here are some basic videos on F1 if you guys want to check out to improve your knowledge about the sport.